So, the 1st of April, some do say, is set apart for All Fools' Day, but why the people call it so, nor I, nor they themselves do know. But on this day, people are sent on purpose for pure merriment, and that comes from Poor Robin's Almanac. And I have been, somebody said, well, don't you mean Poor Richard? And I said, no, I don't, because there was a Poor Robin, maybe he was a second cousin, but there was a Poor Robin's Almanac at the same time, around 1710 to around 1890. 1790, I'm sorry, didn't live that long. In ancient Rome, the custom of playing practical jokes on friends was part of the celebrations in ancient Rome on March 25th, called also Hilaria, in the Julian calendar. The timing seems related to the vernal equinox and the coming of spring, a time when nature fools us with sudden changes between showers and sunshine, as we had today. In England, tricks can be played only in the morning. If a trick is played on you, you are a noodle. Widespread observation in England began in the 18th century. And I love this postcard from down below. I don't believe you can read it, but I'll read it for you. Oh, what some power the gifty give us to see ourselves as others see us. I think that was maybe Scottish. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. That's from Shakespeare As You Like It, Act 5, Scene 1. Touchstone is a traditional court fool. He wears the customary garments of party-colored cowl, hat, cap, and bells, and long coat with pointed sleeves, symbolic of his role and the dichotomies he embodies, among which are wisdom, folly, consciousness, life, unconsciousness, death. And down below it says, from hour to hour we write and write, then from hour to hour we rot and rot. That's heavy. In France, the April Fool is called Poisson d'avril, April fish. The French fool their friends by taping a paper fish to their friends' backs, and when somebody discovers this trick, they yell, Poisson d'avril. And in this picture is shown Sarkozy, who is saying, swear you'll stay at Montignon, the Prime Minister's house, until 2012. And Francois Fillon says, great. At least that's the standard translation. I think it may have another translation as well. Dia los Santos Inocentes, the Feast of the Holy Innocents, is held in Spain on December 28th. It is celebrated similarly to April Fool's Day with practical jokes and very colorful costumes. In Scotland, April Fool's Day is 48 hours long, and you are called an April Gawk, another name for a cuckoo, which has evolved to mean simpleton. The second day is called Taily Day and is dedicated to pranks involving the buttocks. In America, we have England, Scotland, and France to thank for introducing the custom of pranking to the colonies. One of our forefathers' favorite jokes was to send someone on a fool's errand. For example, one might have been asked to go out and obtain a copy of the history of Adam's grandfather, or bring back some sweet vinegar. And as Mark Twain has said, the 1st of April is the day we remember that we are what we are the other 364 days of the year. He did have a way of asking to me. And here are some famous April Fool's pranks. In Germany in 1915, in the midst of World War I, a French plane flew over the Germans and dropped what appeared to be a huge bomb. Rightfully alarmed, the German soldiers fled, but instead of an explosion, there was a bounce. The Germans crept back to the load and discovered it was a football with a note that said, April Fool. Italy, 1919. Venice woke one April 1st to find horse manure littering the streets, odd since the city of canals had few horses. The British prankster Horace de Vere Cole, who was honeymooning in Venice, had transported a load of manure from the mainland the night before with the help of a gondolier and had then deposited small piles of it throughout the piazza. And it's hard to see them, but if you'll notice, that's where the little blue arrows are. I don't know what he was thinking of, his honeymoon and manure. What is that comment on his bride? And I wonder what she thought about it. So, in England in 1957, and this one is absolutely wonderful. It may take a little while for it to come up. I'm going to try, but be patient if I have problems with it. A BBC News show announced Swiss farmers had grown spaghetti, showing footage of peasants pulling spaghetti down from the trees. Viewers believed it, calling into the BBC to ask how they could enjoy their own spaghetti crop. The BBC replied, "Place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce and hope for the best." It's not coming up. What is it? This takes a little while. It's a little slow.
Where is the library voting question?
Excuse me?
Where is the library voting question? Voting for library. Where?
Oh, April 12th.
Yeah.
Right here, in the lobby.
It isn't only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise. Here, in the Ticino, it isn't only in Switzerland that spring this year the slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst in Ticino, at least all those
Do I have two of them up?
Italy.
Yes,
The slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst in earlier. Well, at least I thought it had something to do with food. But it simply means past Wednesday earlier the world design living memories has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of months are an anxious time for the spaghetti crop. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, a tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past. After picking, the spaghetti is laid out to dry in the warm alpine sun. Many people are often puzzled by the fact that spaghetti is produced at such uniform length, but this is the result of many years of patient endeavor by plant breeders who succeeded in producing the perfect spaghetti. And now the harvest is marked by a traditional meal. Toasts to the new crop are drunk in these boccolinos, and then the waiters enter bearing the ceremonial dish, and it is, of course, spaghetti, picked earlier in the day, dried in the sun, and so brought fresh from garden to table at the very peak of condition. For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti.
Hysterical, right? Oh, those are British. And in Sweden in 1962, the sole television channel in Sweden was still black and white. But on April 1st, it announced that viewers could easily convert to color. The station's technical expert, Kjell Stenson, said to pull a nylon stocking over the box. Stenson cautioned the viewer that he would have to be seated at the correct distance from the screen in order to get the full effect. Also, it might be necessary to move your head very carefully back and forth in order to align the color spectrum. Supposedly, thousands of people actually tried. And In England in 1976, British astronomer Patrick Moore announced on BBC Radio 2 that at 9:47 a.m. a once-in-a-lifetime astronomical event was going to occur that listeners could experience in their very own homes. The planet Pluto would pass behind Jupiter, temporarily causing a gravitational alignment that would counteract and lessen the Earth's own gravity. Moore told his listeners that if they jumped in the air at the exact moment that this planetary alignment occurred, they would experience a strange floating sensation. When 9:47 a.m. arrived, BBC Two began receiving hundreds of phone calls from listeners claiming to have felt the sensation. One woman even reported that she and her 11 friends had risen from their chairs and floated around the room. Or tea. Very special tea. And in the United States in 1985, Sports Illustrated published a story about a new rookie pitcher who planned to play for the Mets. His name was Sid, with 2 Ds, Finch, and he could reportedly throw a baseball at 168 miles per hour with pinpoint accuracy. This was 65 miles per hour faster than the previous record. Surprisingly, Sid Finch had never even played the game before. Instead, he had mastered the art of the pitch in a Tibetan monastery under the guidance of the great poet Lama Milarepa. Mets fans celebrated their team's amazing luck at having found such a gifted player, and Sports Illustrated was flooded with requests for more information. In reality, this legendary player only existed in the imagination of the author of the article, George Plimpton, that little comedian. And in France in 1986, the Parisien stunned French citizens in 1986 when it reported that an agreement had been signed to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. The international symbol of French culture would then be reconstructed in the new Euro Disney theme park, going up east of Paris. In the space where the tower used to stand, a 35,000-seat stadium would be built for use during the 1992 Olympic Games. Didn't happen. And here, in 1992, National Public Radio announced that Richard Nixon, after living nearly 2 decades in disgraced retirement, was running again for president. His new campaign slogan was, according to NPR, "I didn't do anything wrong and I won't do it again." And in Philadelphia, also in 1996, the Taco Bell Corporation announced it had bought the Liberty Bell and was renaming it the Taco Liberty Bell. Hundreds of outraged citizens called the National Historic Park in Philadelphia, where the bell was housed, to express their anger. Their nerves were only calmed when Taco Bell revealed a few hours later that it was all a practical joke. The best line of the day came when White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry was asked about the sale. The quick thinker responded that the Lincoln Memorial had also been sold. It would now be known, he said, as the Ford Lincoln Mercury Memorial. And that was a real ad, right? You're seeing it. That's the ad that was in the papers, magazines. In 1998, Burger King published a full-page advertisement in US Today announcing the introduction of a new item to their menu, a left-handed Whopper. Specially designed for the 32 million left-handed Americans. According to the advertisement, the new Whopper included the same ingredients as the original Whopper, but all the condiments were rotated 180 degrees for the benefit of their left-handed customers. The following day, Burger King issued a follow-up release revealing that although the left-handed Whopper was a hoax, thousands of customers had gone into restaurants to request the new sandwich. Simultaneously, according to the press release, many others requested their own right-handed version.